You're watching Sci-Fi Saturday. Discussion and analysis of all your favorite sci-fi TV shows. Only on the Anthony James YouTube channel. Hello, and welcome back to the Anthony James YouTube channel. I'm back here with Emmett, and we're going to be looking at Star Trek Discovery Episode 8. That's the one, isn't it? Episode 8. That's the one. The Sanctuary. Also, before we start, there was someone in the comments last week said that we need to ask for likes. So please like this video.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Click the bell.
So that we can like and subscribe so that we can reassemble the Federation together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, guys, the people who are watching this, watching us talk about Star Trek seem to be enjoying it. If you would like it, that would really do us a favor. One thing I realized you can actually do is if you're watching it on like a PlayStation or an Xbox, you can actually still like the video. Did you know that? You click down or up and then get your menus, go across to the three dots, click them, and then across and click like. Thanks very much.
No longer got an excuse for the people on the PlayStation and Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit that like button.
All right, Emmett. So what do you think of Star Trek this week? The Sanctuary.
The Sanctuary. Well, we got to explore a little bit more of Mr. Book and his past, which I am down for because Book has been a very fun character this season.
I've enjoyed him.
Yeah, so we got to watch his relationship with Michael develop as she gets to learn a bit more about his past that even she didn't know about after a year of being together. So. Yeah,
I found that interesting, actually. There was a lot that she didn't seem to know about him still. So the episode opens up with Book getting a message from his brother, Kahim, and they need to go to Quajon to there's been dealings with the Emerald Chain, would you believe? Not the first time we've heard of the Emerald Chain this year. So they need to go there, and so they go to get some permission from the Admiral. What do you think about this as a setup for the episode?
Well, again, Admiral Vance is sort of like the high commander that they have to sort of appease within Star Trek, the Admiral. So I do enjoy the fact that we do have at least some form of a chain of command that they have to discuss with, and there's a certain level of politics / strategy that needs to be hashed out before they can just go off on missions.
Yeah,
I thought Saru was quite good in this episode because he was showing that he was able to sort of make pitches for how they could phrase the mission in different ways to engage Vance instead of just being we need to do this. I think Saru's learning how to work with Vance better as time goes on. I think we're starting to see that a bit more, which is good. Yeah,
definitely, and there was definitely allusions in this episode, as you say, to the diplomatic nature of how to get things done. Later on, we'll come back to that as well with a certain pilot. But it's interesting. I find those in a show which is just in a way very. Let's be honest. It's compared to something like The Expanse, like Star Trek is for the most part, especially in the TV show, soft fantasy. So whenever they actually take a chance, soft sci-fi, I should say. Whenever they actually take a moment and actually start and really get into the meat of a diplomatic situation and sort of show you that behind these cool, phaser battles and ship fights and interplanetary exploration. Yeah. There is actually some thought going into why they're doing certain things. So I did enjoy that.
Yeah, they're trying not to cause too many problems. They don't want to mess with the lines in the sand too much and get into an all-out war necessarily at the moment because the Federation isn't necessarily in a strong enough place to be able to win or survive a war.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then we'll sort of talk about this at the start, I suppose. So before we get into the meat of the episode, but we sort of called it correctly in terms of the character of Adira. So
yes,
I think we picked up on exactly what they wanted us to pick up on. It was jarring that they called them she. Whenever Hugh and Paul were in bed, they were calling them she, and we were both like, that confuses us. We don't know what to do now. Is it the writer's making a mistake? Well, we have our answer. It was actually a point of the show. Now, I don't think it's going to go on any more than this, but it was a point of the show that Adira would state the pronouns. What did you think of this?
I thought it was very good. We would sort of back and forth on whether we thought Discovery was going to touch upon this. I'm glad that they actually did. They explored, and it was a very sort of simple conversation and a very pleasant conversation between her and Paul, which that's how it should be. When someone goes, "Oh,"
it was a perfect model of what should happen when someone says, "This is how I would like to be referred to."
Yeah, it's if someone tells you that their pronouns are they, them. Super easy. Just be like, all right, sorry, if I make any mistakes in the future, apologies. I will do my best to fix it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it out of badness. I did love. Again, this is just continuing the building relationship of fatherish sort of mentor thing
Yeah.
with Adira and Paul. They have a great sort of bond building, and I think I had joked about it before, a little bit, where I wanted Paul and Hugh to like low key adopt Adira,
Yeah.
like make them their new child, and I'm like, but it seems almost like they're sort of hinting towards
Yeah,
that,
it is,
you know?
and even the point where they're saying that they are like very young, a child, need their sleep at that age.
Yeah,
So it really does seem to me like they're really hinting that they
yeah,
are going to adopt Adira. Well,
yeah,
sort of, maybe not
like
technically, but you know what I mean.
adopt in the sense of they're going to become their space dad,
Yeah, yeah,
space dads
yeah.
rather,
They're the space dads. That
Yeah,
does, to be honest with you, seem like it's going to happen. I will say as well, it seems like now I don't know why. Sometimes this just happens in the world. It seems like perfect timing that this storyline is happening in this episode in terms of Adira and the way that they identify, because obviously Elliot Page came out as trans this last week, and obviously there's been a lot of positive feedback from that as well. But there's always going to be some negative voices, and I think that this, in my opinion, hopefully will sway a few opinions in terms of that as well.
Yeah, Star Trek has always been, progressive on that sort of front of like pushing social issues and being on the side of being progressive and moving forward. So I'm not necessarily surprised that this would be the stance that Star Trek would take, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that they did, and I'm hoping it does sway some people because in the real world we've got a long way to go when it comes to the rights of trans people,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hoping by seeing a little bit more representation in some big shows, we can start maybe affecting culture to push that forward from a perspective of people to legislation.
Yeah, it's true, and like just to move on from it, because we have talked about it a fair bit already this season. Last thing I'll say about it is, I feel like with all the things that are coming out at the minute, and like things like Star Trek, things like Elliot Page, I think that we are on the crest of the wave, and I think that in the next sort of 10-15 years, you'll look back on some people's reaction to Elliot Page coming out as trans, and you'll think that is disgusting. Obviously, I already think it's disgusting, but you'll think about it. So if you think back even just 15-20 years ago, people were speaking that way about the gay population, the gay community, I should say. And it's just when you listen to that now, sort of the antique 20-year-old clips of people speaking that way, you can't believe it's happening. And I feel like we're in that moment now. And I think that is a negative thing, but it's also a positive thing because it means that hopefully in 10 years, or even hopefully 5 years, it will be an ancient thing of the past.
Fingers crossed. Obviously, there's unfortunately a lot of people that still hold bigoted views of the LGBT community. Obviously, emphasis on the T at the moment as we're
Yeah.
talking about the trans community. But again, I think or I hope that they're a dying breed. That the
Mm-hmm.
people that hate are sort
Yeah,
of going out of
the
fashion.
transphobes and the homophobes, yeah,
Yeah,
they're the dying breed, yeah,
yeah, not the trans people themselves. I want more trans people.
yeah,
The turfs and the transphobes. It's very complicated issues.
yeah. Well, exactly. It is very complicated. Let's move on with Star Trek though. So basically, they go down to the planet of Quaishon, and I don't know about you, Emmett, but I completely forgot that Book had this ability to communicate with nature. That was from the first episode we saw it, and I just completely forgot that he had this ability.
Yeah, they occasionally highlight the fact that like his forehead sort of glows with this weird sort of like
Yeah,
I guess nerve network maybe
yeah. It looks like
where
stuff
he's
like
able
that to me.
see like he's able to sort of like telepathically or empathetically connect with creatures.
Hmm.
I sort of remember that was a thing. It just they hadn't done much with it. They do obviously in this episode spend a bit more time with it. I enjoy seeing abilities like that. What do you sort of feel like in like sci-fi shows when like alien species like have like weird sort of psychic powers? How do you find that?
No, I do like I'm not going to say I don't like it. Like I enjoy I did enjoy this idea of him being able to. I especially like the idea of him asking them.
Yeah.
So obviously because you'd imagine a character who can commune with nature, commune with other animals like that, and we know that Book already through his sort of mission to save certain animals and have a sanctuary. We know that he is very sort of empathetic, I suppose you said, to these two other life forms. So I thought it made so much sense that we kept emphasizing, I can only ask them. Because it wouldn't have been right if he was to just say, yeah, no problem, get in the sea, whatever. So it made a lot of sense to me, the way that they handled it.
Yeah, to be fair, I like Book's abilities, and I like the way that they portrayed them better than, Star Trek has had, aliens of various creeds and cultures who have had different abilities. Sometimes that they've not always made the abilities seem that useful. There's a big joke in the Next Generation community, obviously, for Counselor Troy, who would sit on the bridge and then, would announce very obvious things with her empathic abilities, which became sort of like a joke that people made, where someone would come on the projector, the hollow screen, and be like, "We will blow you up, Captain." It's like, "Captain, I feel anger," and they're hiding something. It's like, good job, Troy. we all picked that up too. Whereas Book's abilities, we at least see sort of physical manifestations of it. We see him sort of linking with creatures and such like that. So I think it's a better, at least, depiction of those abilities than we've maybe had before. Not that I love Troy. I just, again, it's very funny sometimes to hear some of her very obvious reveals about people's emotional states.
Yeah, sense anger, boom, 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 like a big musical stinger, So I don't know. I like it. I don't think we're gonna see Book, create controlling huge space whales or something to attack other shit. I don't think we're gonna see that. I think it's much more of a subtle thing that just adds to his character.
You've not watched Star Trek Rebels, have you? Just on that comment?
Star Wars Rebels. Yeah, that's why I said it.
Oh, sorry, Star Wars Rebels. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Star Trek Rebels. Oh, I'm gonna get crucified now.
Yeah, Star Trek Rebels. That's why I said it. That's why I said it, because we all we don't all know, but that's sort of a big part in the Star Wars Rebels series. Yeah. Is when that happens. So
yes, I love that bit.
Yes. But the thing is, also in Doctor Who, they had space whales.
Space whales.
In one of the
Star Trek has also had space whales in Star Trek 4, The Journey Home. It was a creature that interacted with with a regular whale through the communication between their the whale song and the alien creatures song. So I think you could call it a space whale, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, my favorite animal is an orca. And I know that's technically not a whale, it's technically a dolphin, but still, you know what I mean? So anything to do with whales or orcas, I'm just in on it. Even if they're the space variety. Okay, so after that, we've sort of been talking as well, quite extensively, about the looming threat that seems to be going for Giorgio. Now, this episode really sort of ramped up that storyline, and that was the main B plot of the storyline, I would say. And Giorgio seems to have some sort of psychotic break happening, where she's being sort of taken over by her traumatic memories. Almost sort of a bit of a PTSD kind of thing happening with her. But there's also a strange shifting of her. I always felt like it's sort of a bit of the graphics on her were showing she was shifting between dimensions. I don't know. What's your take on what was happening?
Again, it's still very early with her sort of medical procedure. Again, it was great show for Hugh. He got to do cool medical stuff, which is always good. But definitely there seems to be something going on with her that might go beyond just what's going on in her head. It seems to have some sort of physical effect on her too, from the way that it seemed to be interacting with the medical field that was sort of scanning her in certain levels. I honestly don't know, but in the first season we sort of established that people from the Mirror universe have slight physiological differences to those of the main Trek universe, and we sort of explored that a little bit more in during Giorgio's interrogation with Mr. Fincher, obviously, where he referenced the fact that Mirror universe humans' brains seem to be built slightly differently, where they have much stronger sort of screw it, I'm going to do what I want responses, impulse, less impulse control, more impulse driven. Yeah. So it might be something to do with the fact that she's not native to this universe and she's been here for so long now. Yeah. Maybe this is some sort of effect that's starting to happen on her. I honestly don't know. But
maybe it's actually going to make her brain change. You know, maybe this is like a brain puberty, so to speak. Like she's changing to be more, you know, more human.
Yeah.
Possibly.
More this universe's version of human.
Yeah,
Perhaps,
exactly.
again, like you said before, Star Trek has always been like a soft sci-fi show in the sense of like, you know, a lot of the scientific concepts don't necessarily make sense in science. But you know, I could see that being pitched as a concept on the show. So I'm curious to see what's going on. Giorgio has been our sort of fun comedic psychopath character that's always sort of there and involved in stuff. So seeing
Yeah.
her in a position, you know, where she's no longer in control, despite the fact that she's usually the person most in control of herself,
Yeah.
you know, it is interesting for her. And you can tell, obviously, that she does not like having to rely on Hugh at all, you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know he's like, as she normally does, she cuts Hugh down a few, you know, a few as well. So that was good.
To be fair, I think Hugh gave as good as he got, though. He was calling her on her shenanigans. Like, he can
Yeah.
tell that this is coming from a place of fear for her. That's
Yeah.
why she's lashing out more, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Also, what did you think of? I think I kind of skipped over it, or maybe I didn't. But what did you think of like the Talor getting killed by Osira, been put into the pit to get taken by the transworm?
I forgot his name again immediately after the episode.
Yeah,
Like he was. Can I admit something a little embarrassing
of course.
for the show? I didn't realize that they were setting up the Emerald Chain as like the main season bad guy. I thought they were just like a episode sort of base bad guy. I had not been that intimidated by them enough to think of them as a big threat.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
when we met us, like she's pretty cool. I like her, but like they do feel like a wee bit of a step down from, you know, the villains that we've previously had in Discovery itself. We had like the Klingon Empire, the
Yeah.
Mirror Universe control, and now it's like we've got these pirates who maybe have some good ships.
Yeah, it's like now it's like, you know, well, you're not gonna have enough money to eat unless you listen to us. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
and then we see at the end of this episode that maybe they're not as tough as they would think they are.
exactly.
So, you know,
So yeah, I wasn't expecting it, if I'm honest with you as well. Osira didn't really look like she was old enough to be his auntie. She
yeah.
looks quite young, but at the same time, that doesn't really matter, I suppose, because they are an alien race.
Yeah. She's got an intimidating vibe to her. My only concern is I wonder if she has the resources to back up a lot of the stuff that she's sort of claiming at the moment.
Well, apparently not. The dilithium is running low. That's what
Mm,
Rim said.
yeah, well, yeah, obviously that Rin reveals that at the end of the episode, which I thought was, I don't know, maybe it was because they've been talking about the fact that like the Federation was in crisis because of low dilithium and like everyone's like trying to get it. It's like I didn't think that that was necessarily a big reveal because I was like, yeah, wasn't everybody running out of?
Wasn't that's the reason why the Emerald Chain takes over planets and stuff, because they want their
Yeah,
dilithium.
yeah, isn't that why the Federation was in such a bad place and the burn hit so hard? Wasn't? Yeah, everyone's low on dilithium crystals. Like, what are you talking about, Ryan?
You're thinking
That's not.
you're thinking about it too much there, Emmett. We're meant to just meant to just take it like, oh my god, they're weak. They have a
I
weak
just wish
spot.
I wish I had been at the table with Tilly just to be like, yeah, so
Yeah.
are we. Like,
Yeah,
what's
Tilly,
the?
take off the serious face, Tilly. This is this is normal. This is normal.
This is pretty standard intel. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Right, I'm going to skip over a few things here and just jump on to Detmer's big moment. We can go back and talk about the when we get to the end of the overall storyline on the planet. We can talk about the whole thing. But what did you think about Tilly? Sort of Tilly's first big bit of number one work, I suppose. Her first big bit of advice to Saru. What if, and it's to break the law. So what if we send out a pilot in a different ship and we can punish them afterwards?
No, I thought that was a good plan. It doesn't seem to have worked by the conclusion of it. It seems that Osira is pretty much indicating that she's going to declare war with the Federation anyway. So,
Well,
like, I
at
think
least it stopped the planet getting destroyed.
yeah, but like the reason that they didn't involve Discovery in the firefight was to try and avoid the war. So it's like I think it was a good plan that just unfortunately
Yeah,
didn't necessarily work the way that it did. I think it really helped Detmer in the end, so
yeah,
I'm all for the plan on that front. But I don't know if it stopped the declaration of war in the same way that Tilly was hoping. But
yeah.
you know, hey, first suggestions from a command position, not the worst in the world, and it paid off. So good job, Tilly.
Yeah, and it's really cool to know that she can just summon some VR controls.
Yeah, oh yeah, going full manual as she described it.
Full manual.
That was very. And she and Rin had a lovely moment in the ship. Like where they were having a wee bit of a back and forth.
You stood up to her. You stood up to Osira.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, that was very again. And I feel like we've come to the sort of the end of Detmer's arc with her post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, obviously, I think she'll still struggle with it a bit, but I think she's reached an equilibrium in the sense of like, she has restored her faith in her own abilities, which I think was shaken by the crash. And I think now she's going to be in a healthier place going forward.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, they've narrowed down the burn to the Verubin Nebula. Where do you see this storyline going? It's they're sort of trying to decode it now. To be honest with you, it's a little bit more of a sort of, hey, here's a tiny bit more of information. It's sort of a way more drip feedy than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. But what do you think?
Well, they're dragging out the mystery, obviously, for the season. They have to have, like, the crew slowly piece together the information. Obviously, it's huge that they figured out the exact location or I say exact location. I'm sure there's, like, thousands of light years of space to sort of, like, navigate through. I thought the little bit, they'd sort of been seeding in the idea of this musical note being a thing that, like, all these... Yeah, it was a distress call, but, like, they'd seeded in this idea that it was strange that this specific piece of music had made it to cultures that were separated from each other and like weren't able to, move it around as much.
True,
so I thought that was sort of interesting. And then the revelation that it was like a warped version of a distress call was, it was very interesting.
Yeah, and we got a nice little shot of Saru's ear too. So
yeah, and his eyes dilating really intensely.
Yeah.
Just to remind everyone, Saru's an alien. He has alien senses.
Yeah, exactly. And this is his what is it called? Varahai? What do you call it? His puberty that he went through.
Yeah, his weird gangly puberty.
Yeah, was it Varahai or something like that? Yeah, anyway. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I think I'm right. It is called that. Varahai. It's something like that. But I've never actually said it out loud before, funny enough. But he's post that. He's now... He's able to sense those things. I thought that was an interesting thing. I like the idea of the tones being put across the universe. I like the idea that it was a distress call. I'm really wondering now what the distress call. You know what I would love? I would love. This is going to annoy everyone. I would love if the distress call was Spock having traveled into the future, and then he's going to travel back again, and then do everything that we know he does in the canon. Because this, just when they thought like, oh, okay, they've left Spock behind, like they can finally stop breaking the canon. I was like, let's bring him to the future.
Let's make some more canon breaking. Let's do it. That would I'm always like I can't remember the name of the actor right now, but that fellow who played Spock in season 2. Great, loved him. Like I thought he was fantastic. So like if they want to bring him back in for a bit more, not gonna complain. Totally on board with that. But like I don't know. Like obviously this Federation vessel that's trapped there is in some way linked to the burn. So I'm guessing maybe it's like they got trapped in there and something used their warp drive to trigger that. Again, I suppose we'll find out. Like the Emerald Train is the current physical threat, but like obviously the greater scope threat is whatever caused the burn, because it wasn't the Emerald Chain. They're not nearly powerful enough to have pulled anything like that off.
Yeah.
So like there was another force that we're not aware of that was behind the burn that's like the real pressing threat, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you. All right, so we could touch on now the storyline with Book's brother. I think this is the only part of the episode we haven't really talked about yet.
Yeah.
So Book's brother turns out he brought him there as a trap because he wants Rin. For Osira. Osira asked for Book to be brought, and then it turned out that then it sort of shit hit the fan, so to speak, because Rin came along too. So my understanding was that then they shifted from wanting Book to wanting Rin.
Well, I think it was they wanted Book because they were going to capture Book to like hostage negotiate for Rin.
Yeah, okay.
They were going to get Book and be like, hey, we've got this guy. We know you want him. like, we'll trade you Book for Rin for his stellar intel of the Emerald Chain is low on gas.
What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
The Emerald Chain's screwed now.
Yeah.
All you have to do is send a Federation ship to every petrol station, and they won't be able to fill up.
And then they'll be stuck adrift.
Yeah.
You know. So like, I think that was like, I think obviously the idea of him going home and him encountering his family again and like sort of reuniting with him has been very much in keeping with like the themes of the season, which has been sort of reuniting in family and stuff like that. So I think this is a very natural way of progressing both the themes of the season and Book's arc as a character. So I was happy to be like, oh, we're learning a bit more about his past and his family.
Yeah, you know? But the fact that now he has a nephew, though, it made me worry that he isn't going to become a member of the Discovery. I don't think he will now.
What it's like, I don't know if he's going to become a member of Discovery in the sense of, I don't know if he's going to be like a full uniform guy. He might be like like a consultant, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Like
someone who works with the crew without actually being part of like Federation hierarchy, if you mean, just like being like someone who knows stuff, an informant or whatever you want to.
But I, just the moment earlier on in the season when he put on the uniform and it was a real slow shot with swelling music. They put the badge on, and I was just thinking to myself, this feels like a big moment that this character is going to eventually become like a favorite of ours. He's gonna be a member of Discovery. He's gonna go down as a character who was always thought of being a member of the Federation, because this is the first moment he put on the suit. You know, so. I got that from that scene. Having said that, everything I've seen since then would mean that makes me question why they portrayed it that way.
Well, it's, you know, obviously last episode he had that moment where he like told Michael obviously that she feels like home and like the Federation is home to her, so to a certain degree it's home to him. Again, maybe he'll become like something like a specialist role in the same way that Michael was, and like and that maybe he'll wear the uniform that way. But I don't think he's gonna necessarily abandon Michael just to reunite with his family. I think he's reunited with his family in the sense of like now his home is free and you know, he can visit it again, but like he's still Book. He's still gonna go off on his like adventure and his like goal, because he's been saving the transworms. He's been saving all the other sort of creatures that he can sort of find. Like he's very focused on. He could be a very good a xenobiologist for the crew. You know, he might be, you know, helpful that way. But I think he's sticking around for a while at least.
Yeah, and he actually might be able to properly commune and get through to Lionel, whose actions have been all over the place recently.
Yeah, he just having a weird old day, you know.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, there is episode 8 of the season. We have 5 more to go. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this how they're going to spice up this Emerald Chain. Is Emerald Chain actually going to appear and become across very threatening? I'm wondering about that. Are they going to find out about the burn? Tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bat channel.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much, guys, for watching. From me and Emmett, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Ring the bell.
You're watching Sci-Fi Saturday. Discussion and analysis of all your favorite sci-fi TV shows. Only on the Anthony James YouTube channel.